as the blast went off, I just remember chaos, my brain, not really understanding what was going on at the time. I remember smoke in the air, someone screaming. I don't remember who was screaming, if that was me, if that was any the other three of the people that were in the vehicle at the time. I was in the front vehicle and our vehicle got hit by an IED. So that was...
One day, I'm coming back from the Iraqi base to go back to my home base, and I got hit with an RPG, a rocket-powered grenade. It hit the side of my vehicle. When I went over there, I didn't think I was going to come home with, amputees and any kind of damage to me, but I believe in God, and I believe that things are going to happen when they happen.
It blew off the doors and sent our Humvee flying through the air. I don't know what happened with Staff Sergeant Rhea, where he was driving and he was killed in the incident.
Trying to simulate combat experiences and encounters that we found and we experienced in Iraq, so people of America can see it and they can remember. We're doing guerrilla street theater. That's what Operation First Casualty is.
My name is Charles Parker. I'm a paratrooper from the 82nd Airborne Division. I've been in the Army for at least 2 years, 2.5 years now.
2.5 years?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How old are you?
I'm 32. One day, I'm coming back from the Iraqi base to go back to my home base, and I got hit with an RPG, a rocket-powered grenade. It hit the side of my vehicle, hit my TC, my passenger, and then they subsequently shot the vehicle with the grenade and then fired armor-piercing rounds with AK-47s at my vehicle. It went through my passenger, bounced off his back plate, went through my radio, and then saw through my leg and came out my knee. The bullet came out my knee. So I just pushed my leg out the way, and I pushed my butt up on the back of the seat and just slammed my foot on the gas with my other leg. And you get out of the kill zone, which is the area where the firing is coming from. When I got hit, I was losing a lot of blood, and I was talking to, I got a radio system so I could talk to everybody in the truck. So I was driving and I was blacking out, and I was telling them I can't make it, yo. I'm doing the best I can. And he's like, just stay strong and keep driving, get as far as you can. I passed out and I hit a telephone pole. They told me the next day, and it seemed like eternity. But they grabbed me out of the truck by my vest and pulled me out and got me on the ground and inside of first aid. I accepted it that day. When I woke up, as a matter of fact, the 16th of March was my birthday, and I woke up on my birthday with my leg cut off, and I looked at it and I assessed the situation in 30 seconds and accepted that it was gone.
Μια εβδομάδα αργότερα διακομίστηκε στο πιο γνωστό στρατιωτικό νοσοκομείο των Ηνωμένων Πολιτειών, στο Walter Reed, στην Ουάσιγκτον. Νοσηλεύεται στην πτέρυγα 57, με δεκάδες άλλους ακροτηριασμένους.
When I went over there, I didn't think I was going to come home with, amputees and any kind of damage to me, but I believe in God, and I believe that things are going to happen when they happen. So it could be the same thing here, the same day. At least I did something. I was working for my country and doing something honorable when I lost my leg. I mean, I could have got hit by a drunk driver that same night if I was in the States and lost my leg. I regret that my teammate lost his life. That's my only regret. It's affected me worse than losing my limb. But I gotta accept that because we all accept that, you know, that's part of, you know, a mission out there too. Because there's some people out there that do resist what we are trying to help, you know, do out there.
Μέχρι σήμερα πάνω από 3.500 Αμερικανοί έχουν χάσει τη ζωή τους στο Ιράκ. Οι τραυματίες ξεπερνούν τις 25.000. Αρκετοί από αυτούς μεταφέρονται για νοσηλεία στο Walter.
We have 3 flights that come over every week, and you know, sometimes we get lucky and there's nothing orthopedic on a flight. For most of the time, it's 1 to 2 cases. Sometimes 5 to 6 cases every flight, but it differs week to week, differs day to day. We take care of guys that, you know, get back on their limbs and they make it and they get out of this hospital and they live the rest of their life. We turn back around and we got 3 more to work on and we start back over.
I'm just in a recovery program. I mean, right now I'm in PT, physical training, to get used to a new limb. I mean, like this is my second limb, and I've only been here for 2 months and a half.
How before you come over to your left and then you sit down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Once it's been on for a little while, it feels natural. I mean, I thank God that I can stand up and walk around again. You know, and I mean it's so fast. I mean, we're talking about 2 months, maybe less than 2 months, and I'm up on my feet.
World War I, there were about 2,600 individuals with limb loss. In World War II, there were about 7,500 individuals with limb loss. Korean War was about 1,500. Vietnam War, the numbers are a little harder to get at, but we've been able to identify about 5,300 individuals that had limb loss. That was about 3.4% of all injured. In the current conflict, we have about 600 individuals with limb loss, but it's about 2.2% of the injured.
Really, really good control.
In previous wars, individuals sustained injuries, head traumas, or abdominal wounds where they would have died and not survived. So the percent of amputations to those that survived their wounds was a little bit higher in this war because we're able to provide immediacy of care. We've advanced in the medical technologies. We're able to have individuals survive what would have previously been deadly wounds.
Το στρατιωτικό νοσοκομείο της Ουάσιγκτον λειτουργήσε για πρώτη φορά το 1909. Διαθέτει 5.500 δωμάτια με συνολικό έμβαδο που ξεπερνά τα 113.000 τετραγωνικά μέτρα. Στους θαλάμους του νοσηλεύονται σήμερα περισσότεροι από 200 στρατιωτικοί και τραυματίες από τους πολέμους στο Ιράκ και το Αφγανιστάν. Ο Μάρκους είναι 29 ετών. Υπηρετούσε 1 χρόνο στο Ιράκ ως νοσοκόμος. Μια παγίδα θανάτου παραλίγο να του στοιχήσει τη ζωή. Ήταν 23 Μαρτίου.
I don't remember anything that had happened, but I've been told that there was a Bradley and our Humvee was behind it, and there were two mortar shells underneath our truck that went off, and it blew off the doors and sent our Humvee flying through the air. I don't know what happened with Staff Sergeant Rhea where he was driving and he was killed in the incident. I got launched out, and I don't know how I sustained my injuries. Somehow, probably getting either blown up or being torn out of the Humvee. When I got injured, all of the skin and all of the tissue was taken completely off of my shins. I broke both my legs, my feet, bone in my back, my arm, and my jaw. So, and with the treatment here, they're expecting 100% recovery.
How long do you expect to stay?
I don't know for sure. I'm thinking probably around 6 months, 4 to 6 months. I'll probably be here for another couple of months, and then I'll get transferred to outpatient, just working on rehab, learning how to walk again, and getting all my strength back.
Κάθε θάλαμος του Walter Reed είναι και μια εφιαλτική ιστορία ενός νέου ανθρώπου από έναν πόλεμο χωρίς λογική. Οι τραυματίες μεταφέρονται από την κόλαση του Ιράκ σε ένα νοσοκομείο με λουλούδια και ανθισμένα δέντρα στους διαδρόμους. Οι φωτογραφίες του Walter Reed είναι η απόλυτη αντίθεση ανάμεσα στη ζωή και το θάνατο. Tell us your name, your age, your units.
Yeah, David Foss. I'm 24. My unit is Bravo Company, 1st to the 15th Infantry. We were coming back from a mission, and we were just outside of the base, maybe 2 miles or so, and I was in the front vehicle, and our vehicle got hit by an IED. So that was that. We were the only vehicle that were really, affected by the IED, and 2 of us were taken out and kind of hurt, obviously by the blast. So.
Ο David κατατάχθηκε στο στρατό πριν από 1,5 χρόνο. Ήταν μόλις 2 μήνες στο Ιράκ, όταν ξαφνικά, πριν από 15 μέρες, η ζωή του άλλαξε για πάντα.
Just one leg, it's an above the knee amputation, and my right leg is just there's just the part of the bone missing.
Do you remember what happened at that time?
I remember everything.
You remember everything?
Absolutely everything that happened. Yeah.
What happened? Could you describe it to us?
Well, as the blast went off, I just remember chaos, my brain, not really understanding what was going on at the time. I remember smoke in the air, and screaming. I don't remember who was screaming, if that was me, if that was any the other 3 of the people that were in the vehicle at the time. As everything kind of settled down, I realized that the vehicle wasn't going anywhere. My sergeant was telling everyone to get out of the vehicle, so we had opened up the doors. And as I tried to get out of the vehicle and plant my feet on the ground, I fell, onto the ground immediately because I didn't know how bad my wounds were, because of the adrenaline rush that I'd gotten. I didn't even know I was really injured.
How long are you going to stay here?
I'll be here for about another week and a half, and then I'm transferring to a naval hospital in San Diego to be closer to my wife and family down there.
Ο David Foss κρύβει το ακρωτηριασμένο πόδι του κάτω από την κουβέρτα. Τα τραύματά του είναι ορατά. Χιλιάδες στρατιώτες όμως κρύβουν μέσα τους τραύματα αόρατα. Ο αριθμός εκείνων που πάσχουν από το λεγόμενο PTSD, το μετατραυματικό στρες, είναι ακόμη απροσδιόριστος.
Post-traumatic stress is usually a disorder that occurs subsequent to an individual going through trauma. And some of the symptoms in particular are hypervigilance, where they jump at noises. They're always feeling aroused by something going around them. That's number 1. Number 2, they re-experience the event. So they're having re-experiencing such as flashbacks to previous events or previous traumas in their life. In a study that was conducted here, that was published last June, it suggested that of those patients injured, about 20% of patients still had some either depression or post-traumatic stress disorder 9 months post-discharge from the hospital.
Τα τελευταία χρόνια, οι ψυχίατροι του στρατιωτικού νοσοκομείου, όπως ο Harold Wayne, εξετάζουν όλο και περισσότερους στρατιώτες που φέρουν αόρατα εγκεφαλικά τραύματα. Ένας νέος ιατρικός όρος ακούγεται όλο και πιο συχνά στους διαδρόμους του νοσοκομείου.
TBI is known as traumatic brain injury. It occurs subsequent to a head wound, a blast, a mortar fire. All these can contribute to a traumatic brain injury or TBI. Some of the symptoms would be impulse control. For example, some become aggressive, some have become disinhibited, which they just have no controls over themselves. Others have what we call cognitive aspects, such as loss of memory, not being able to be aware of their deficits, sometimes not being aware of the type of deficits they have. Then you also have the emotions such as depression, anxiety associated with it. You have some of the behaviors such as being childlike, being sometimes not recognizing what's going on, actually sometimes having hallucinations, having behaviors that are uncommon and uncomfortable for them.
I'll give you an example. I recently dealt with a soldier who was a communications expert in his field. Yes, he was in the infantry, but communications was his genre. He used to be able to handle all kinds of technical equipment with relative ease. Now, status post-concussive or traumatic brain injury, he has a hard time logging onto a computer.
This could be the Iraq syndrome.
Well, I guess an Iraq syndrome, yeah, that might be, I never heard it called that, but yeah, it could be an Iraqi syndrome. People talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, but I think post-traumatic stress disorder has always been there. And with other wars and other conflicts, it's just that it's being more, again now, because the lights that have been put on this issue, it's being addressed more aggressively a little bit now. But traumatic brain injuries tend to be the one that stands out the most as the most lingering delayed effect from all the different injuries.
Οι σημαδεμένοι του Ιράκ δύσκολα εξομολογούνται τους εφιάλτες τους. Τα εμπόδια που συναντάει η ιατρική προσπαθεί να ξεπεράσει η πίστη στο Θεό.
What did they tell me? Things like I see my friend blowing up because I was next to him in the Humvee and we got hit by an IED. I see bodies strewn around because they've gone into an area where the Iraqis have been attacking each other and they've gone in to try and put order back in place.
Η Κρίστιν Πάπας είναι Ελληνοαμερικανή με καταγωγή από την Πελοπόννησο. Είναι μία από τους στρατιωτικούς ιερείς που μιλούν με τους τραυματίες και τις οικογένειές τους.
But the intensity of always knowing your life's on the line and the question of, am I next? When am I going to die? Comes up. And we spend a lot of time with survivor guilt. You know, how come my buddy died and I didn't? How do I deal with that?
Η αποστολή του προσωπικού του νοσοκομείου είναι να επουλώσει τις πληγές, ορατές και αόρατες. Σε ορισμένες περιπτώσεις η νέα τεχνολογία είναι ο μεγαλύτερος αρρωγός.
Right here, it's an above knee prosthesis with a computerized knee called the C-leg.
When you say computerized, what do you mean exactly?
There's a microprocessor, monitors the limb, how it's walking 50 times a second. It's reading off of a force sensor in the ankle and an angle sensor in the knee, and with those two inputs can make adjustments to a hydraulic cylinder and makes for a safer, smoother walk. So the knee is free when it needs to be. And
is it expensive?
This system will cost anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000. And generally, people will have more than one prosthesis. They can have a backup prosthesis. They might have a specialty prosthesis, for instance, for running or swimming. And they might have just a couple different devices, C-leg, a computerized knee, and a mechanical system, just for differences in the activities that they're participating in.
It got tweaked.
You got me tight with the whole. Oh man, I didn't know the ankle went all the way down there like that.
Yeah, man.
It's great, man.
Για τον αλεξιπτωτιστή Charles Parker, βετεράνο του Ιράκ, σήμερα είναι μια ξεχωριστή ημέρα.
Okay.
Huh? Yeah, it's too much to do.
Just takes a little time. Got to pour the plaster and let it sit.
Now, do you suggest that I put the foot straight out, or
Just put the socket like you did before, however it's comfortable, and then if we need to, I'll change the angulation of the foot or whatever needs changing.
Okay.
Just tell me if that spot still gets you, or if you want me to do some more heat to it. The bone in the middle, you know what I'm talking about.
Right here? Or right here? Oh. No, I don't even feel that.
Don't feel?
It's good. I'm walking in the hall. Cover on.
Ο Πάρκερ θα ήθελε να βγει από το νοσοκομείο και να επιστρέψει όρθιος στο σπίτι και την οικογένειά του. Είναι πατέρας ενός παιδιού.
Oh, I told him that, Daddy's gonna get a robot leg, and he thought that was just the greatest thing in the world. He's like, oh, Daddy's getting a robot leg. And he told me he was gonna give me a gold leg, and I was like, well, let's just, see what the doctors, have in store for me, and then we'll go from there. So, he looks at my leg, sometimes I have it off, and he rubbed it the other day, and he was like, Daddy, you got one leg, but, I'm gonna take care of you, so. I got my little 5-year-old son, he got plenty of time. He's gonna take care of his dad, And that keeps me strong too, like I said, I got a good family support.
It was like this whole plastic piece wasn't on there this morning. It was just a pole. I think last time you did take me, I just had the pole in. Yeah. But now you see it looks like a whole leg. It was like a
Fills it in a little bit.
Yeah.
It looks much better.
Yeah, it looks a lot better. And that time you tightened up the ankle helped me a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, it's much better. Yeah, you know how it looked just like this the last time you came in, but I mean it gives a whole. Like if I put on some jeans and stuff.
It's much better.
Yeah, and you know how you put on some jeans, it looks like a full thigh and leg now. Or if not, hey, it give me the whole cyborg look. The whole Terminator suit.
Was it worth it? It's not really whether was it worth or whatever. When I signed that paperwork, I accepted the possibility of this, and it happened. So I have to accept that. So I have no regrets.
When I plug it in, is this something that I gotta turn off, and then, or can I just unplug it?
It's always on.
Okay, and
even while you're charging it, it's still on.
That little keychain, it has 1, 2, and 3 on it. What's the 1, 2, and 3 for?
We don't have second modes programmed in yours yet, because usually once your training progresses to where you need it, we'll program that in. But that will change from right now we have all those hydraulic settings that are controlling the way that you walk, and not controlling it, but reacting to the way that you walk. All right. Gone. See you later, Charles.
There's some parts of the world that I would have never been to. I mean, I even seen parts of the world that was in the Bible, and I mean, it was mind-blowing when I was in these places and I'm seeing places that I read about in the Bible, and I'm like, I was mind-blown, so I got a chance to do a lot of things, man. I learned a lot of things, met a great group of people, and still meeting a lot of good people, I mean, it's not really over. I mean, once you're a paratrooper, you always a paratrooper, and loss of a limb's not going to stop me. I mean, I'm walking around now. I mean, a month and a half later. That's how it is. Suck it up. It's a loss. And get strong, get better, and we'll move on. I'm a paratrooper.
Bring them all down! Bring them
every 10 minutes, an Iraqi loses their life in combat in Iraq. Roughly speaking, every 10 hours, we lose another American man or woman in theater in Iraq. Bring them home now! 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 I ain't hearing you, folks. Give it a little voice. Come on. Bring them home now! 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 Yo! Let's get it on!
Here tonight, unfortunately, within this facility behind us, there are men and women probably dying. There are men and women that no longer have faces. Men and women that have lost limbs, arms, eyes, ears, tongues, mouth, teeth in this war. We're responsible to call for something better. We're responsible now to call for the end of our involvement. We must support our military. We must ask that our military be withdrawn, be brought home. Again, you don't give democracy from the end of an M16. Every 10 days, we spend another $10 billion, and our Congress has just voted yesterday $120 billion to keep this madness up. We won't stand for that.
We know what's going on, and we know it's street theater, but when people see this, it's such a dramatic event that they can get very freaked out, you know what I mean, and not really know what's going on. We just want to let them know, number one, this is street theater, there are no weapons being used, and this street theater event being put on by Iraq veterans against the war. If people want more information beyond that, and we have time, there's the 3 talking points, right, that you guys have. The first one is the first casualty of war is the truth. We're here to bring the truth of war home. Number 2 is we're a growing national movement of soldiers and vets demanding an immediate end to this war. And number 3, supporting our fellow soldiers means ending the war and bringing them home now, right? Yeah, I know.
Hey, we got the bags. We got sandbags.
All right. Well, let's step out, man.
Let's do this shit.
Come on.
1, 2, 3, peace.
Yeah, we got to look out for each other.
Yo, and today more than anything, guys, that's it. We look out for each other. We stick together, right?
Cool. Everybody's got the battle buddy.
Peace on 3. Hey. 1, 2, 3, peace!
Move it out! Move it out!
My name is Adam Kokish. I served as a sergeant from February to September of 2004 at the Marine Corps Civil Affairs team in the Fallujah area. I was really excited about going to Iraq, and I thought we were doing a good thing cleaning up our mess afterwards. And when I got through my training for civil affairs, I was like, wow, well, this is exactly what President Bush is saying they were doing in Iraq. But then I got there, and we were 6-man teams generally attached to battalions. And you don't go anywhere in Fallujah without 6 vehicles with machine guns and at least 3 Marines in each vehicle, let alone just 6 Marines. So we had to beg often these battalion commanders or regimental commanders to get out and to go do our mission.
I think one of them might be on the detainee list. They're just about 20 meters right of that statue. I think he ducked back, he might have seen us.
Oftentimes we will approach a group that just looks suspicious and detain a group of people, or we'll stop them, and if they're giving us any trouble, then we have an excuse to zip tie them, to cuff them, and to put a sandbag over the head and maybe detain them. it's not just an effect on the people that are detained, although it's a horrendous effect on them. It affects everybody who's in that community. You know, to see a squad of people coming through with rifles and pointing them at everybody, you know, it's scary. And, you know, we don't want to scare anybody today, but we want to shock them. We want them to realize that, you know, with what we're doing in Iraq, the way we're occupying it is having this effect on the people of Iraq.
Incoming! Incoming! Move! 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 Danger area! Danger area!
You guys are ready? You guys are ready? Go about 50 meters up there past the flight circle. Just watch this corner on my backside.
Hagen. All the way to the other side.
All right, get across the street. Long danger area.
Roger.
Right.
Ready, Coach?
Watch for traffic coming across.
Roger. All the way across the street?
All the way across.
Roger.
Whenever you guys are ready.
Roger. Roger.
Ready?
Ready.
Cover.
So we're trying to do these skits and do these acting as realistic as possible, so people know that the military in Iraq are going through hell, and the Iraqi people are being abused and neglected in an occupation they don't want. So that's what we're trying to bring here to New York City.
Big Blondie's got a weapon.
My name's Garrett Reppenhagen. I was a sniper in the 1st Infantry Division. I was a specialist, and I was in the Diyala province in a 6-man sniper team between February 4 to February 5. Now I'm the chairman of the board of Iraq Veterans Against the War. It's a United States national organization of veterans who are opposed to the war.
Get back or we will shoot you!
So I joined before September 11th, and by the time I was in, I went to Kosovo for a peacekeeping mission for 9 weeks. In fact, I worked alongside the Greek army there in the southern Kosovo. And, you know, that was amazing. We did a lot of great things there. But Iraq was very different, and I knew kind of from the start that it was different. You know, weapons of mass destruction and ties to 9/11. Almost all those were defeated reasons by the time I went there.
Take cover.
One time we were reacting to a firefight in Khalis, this town just outside of Baquba. And we got redirected to the deputy governor's house because it said he was under attack. When we got there, we saw some guys in a pickup truck we thought were insurgents, and one of them had an RPG, rocket-propelled grenade pointing towards the house. So we stopped the trucks and we lit the truck up and we fired at them. And not once did they fire back at us. And we killed every single one of those men in that truck. And you know, a couple of them got out, got in front of the truck, and you know, it's horrible. Once the fight was over, once we stopped shooting, I think somebody finally ran out of ammunition when we stopped firing at these guys. And finally we all stopped firing because we realized one truck stopped firing, and we went up there and we found out they were deputy governor's guards, bodyguards. And they were just, they were on our side. And that was one of the hard parts because, you know, it's horrible when civilians get in the way, and it's horrible when, you know, it's horrible even when you have to kill some of the insurgents.
And when you came back, what did you do?
I came back, I was pissed. I came back breathing fire. I was so angry. I felt like I was stuck, you know, doing something I didn't want to do, but given the oath that I had to do it. So when I came back, I started speaking out immediately. I started talking to the press. I started, you know, going to rallies. I immediately went to a G8 protest in Scotland in 2005 when I got out of the Army. It was about 1 month after I got out of the Army. I was already in Scotland protesting at the G8 summit.
Go. All right, it's clear. Let's move.
My name is Damon Mullins. When I was in Iraq from September 2004 to September 2005 as part of a National Guard unit, Army National Guard unit, I was infantry. But when I was there, a regular day in Iraq for me would be possibly 12-hour combat patrol. Sometimes we would get a FRAGO, which is a fragmentation order, which would basically extend our time outside the wire. So the combat mission would go maybe from 12 hours to maybe 14 to 16 hours. Most of it was driving around in Humvees and patrolling. And you take fire sporadically. and IEDs, improvised explosive devices, constantly. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times we've been hit by improvised explosive devices when I was there.
With Operation First Casualty, we're trying to bring the truth of the war home to the American people, because they often forget the effect that we're having on the people of Iraq, that we're occupying that country, and what that means. And to have squads of combat troops walking through your town and pointing guns at people and grabbing people at random. Here, well, we're seeing appropriate reactions largely. People are shocked. People want to know what's going on. And when you walk up to them with a squad of guys that look like they're carrying rifles, I mean, they get it. They know what's going on. They see that it's, you know, they stop, and it forces them to think about it. And a lot of them are somewhat repulsed, and they want to get away. But that's an appropriate reaction too, because if they get a flyer and they understand what we're doing, you know, we want them to stop and think, you know, why is it that I was so repulsed by this?
Operation First Casualty is a demonstration that is patterned after similar demonstration performed by Vietnam veterans against the war during the Vietnam era. The essence of this demonstration is basically the first casualty of war is truth. And every subsequent casualty is due to the lack of truth. I joined Iraq Veterans Against the War about 4 or 5 months after I returned from Iraq. I opposed the war. I opposed what I did in Iraq. I opposed what my buddies did in Iraq. And inside my unit, I was very close to the guys within my platoon. In my unit, it was pretty much a consensus that this was foolishness, but it was our job, and it's either do it or go to jail. So we persisted, you know, and we got through it. Those who made it.
Every once in a while, two of us would get talking somewhere, and you know, it's like, hey, you know, it sucks we had to kill that farmer in the field yesterday. He's like, yeah, I know. It's like, yeah, he was just out there farming, and we fucking popped him because we thought he was a bad guy. And it's like, yeah, I know. It's like, wow, that sucks. What does your dad do? He's like, oh, he's a farmer in Iowa. Really? So that guy could have been like your dad? He's like, yeah. And you get talking. Just talk about the whole implications and get guys thinking about what they're doing. And a lot of guys don't. They're just trying to survive, trying to get home, trying to get their buddies home.
Bush wants to send those who have sworn an oath to defend the Constitution to the other side of the world to die in a feudal occupation. We are the weapons of this democracy, ruled by the people. But our democracy has failed us. It is time for the people to end this war. Well, I don't think it's a war anymore. It's an occupation. And it's illegal, and it's immoral, and there's people dying for no good reason. There's no reason for us to be there right now.
We're occupying a country that doesn't want us there. You know, we're claiming we're giving democracy and freedom, but the majority of the Iraqi people don't want us there, you know? And we're lying to our own country to support it, you know? So that has to end. There's no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. There's no ties to 9/11. Al-Qaeda wasn't in Iraq until we brought them there. Until we destroyed the infrastructure of that country, destroyed the security of that country. We brought Al-Qaeda to Iraq. Now we're making the world more dangerous. Not just America. We're making the world more dangerous for terrorism because we're justifying extremism. And that's wrong.
And I'll leave you with this. Saddam, undoubtedly, undeniably, was a terrible authoritarian figure, a despot. He mocked democracy by holding fake elections where he elected himself. He implemented policies that were not only harmful to other nations and dangerous for other nations, but that caused thousands of deaths of his own citizens. Who does that remind you of? George. Thank you.
we're supposed to be a democracy, and yet no matter how hard we yell, nobody's representing us, the American people. So we need to take to the streets. We need to do something. There has to be action. There has to be action today. So, you know, get up off your couch, you know, get away from your computer, you know, leave your barbecue, get out of the mall, and come into the streets with us and stop this war.
Five 5144, bravo. 30, we're looking for 5144.
5144?
Come over here and put one here, Donald. Get one for Mr. our HEPA director. Give out to aqui. And do your cross.
What's the next one?
Okay. Good boy, bravo. This is George C. Georgizantis, okay. Did we find 418 and 419?
Yeah, we did those.
We did those,
Yes.
okay, good. Okay, we're looking for 4018, 4118, 4035, 4463. Yeah, this is it. I need some flowers here, guys. Okay, I'll put it in the end, do your salute, and then do your cross. Attaboy. Bravo. Good job. Good job. Ian, get the flowers. Okay, come over here. Put it in. Good boy. Good job. Good boy. Good job. Peter Dimopoulos, we got. My name is Nicholas P. Vamvakias. I'm a colonel in the United States Army, retired. I served 30 years on active duty and with a total of 6 years in the U.S. Army Reserves and National Guards, first for a total of 36 years. My grandparents came from Admara and my parents came from Beramos.
Κάθε χρόνο, παραμονές της Αμερικανικής Εθνικής Εορτής για την ημέρα μνήμης των πεσόντων, ο συνταγματάρχης εν αποστρατεία Νικόλαος Βαμβακίας επισκέπτεται το στρατιωτικό νεκροταφείο του Άρλινγκτον. Με τα εγγόνια του και μέλη της ομογενειακής οργάνωσης ΑΧΕΠΑ, αναζητά τους τάφους Ελληνοαμερικανών στρατιωτών.
Let's all do our cross. Ευχαριστώ όλα που έχεις κάνει για την πατρίδα μας. Παναγιώτης Γιάννης Στάτης. Στο 1900, World War I, στο πρώτο πόλεμο. So τους έχουμε όλους εδώ, πρώτο πόλεμο, δεύτερο.
Πόσοι είναι όλοι μαζί?
Είναι άνω από 450. Και δυστυχώς τώρα ένας κύριο Ιράκ, ένας Νικόλαος Αρβανίτης από το New Hampshire. Θεός μαζί τους όλους. And I went to Vietnam in '64, and my first tour I was as a lieutenant. I was an infantry advisor. We lost lots of friends. We lost a lot. Now we call them IEDs, but in those days they were basically mines, and the enemy was very good. The enemy, again, used lots of mines in those days. And one day there was a crew of a 113 that was told not to go down to the river, but they went down to the river anyways. And sure enough, the enemy had planted mines, and the soldiers blew up the 113, and they got blown up both inside and literally welded inside to the 113s. So that was very, it hurt. You know, you lost your own soldiers, and you never want to lose your own soldiers.
How many men did you?
Well, we lost probably 11 that day. It hurts, you know, it's your brothers, somebody's son, somebody's husband, somebody's brother, and just like what's going on now in Iraq, it hurts. So any day is not a good day when you lose your buddies.
So now we want 45-13.
Do you see similarities now and then?
Very much so. Very much so. And so we must, I'll tell you, the big lesson that comes out of this is we must go back and study history. We must go back and read history.
Ο Ελληνοαμερικανός πρώην αξιωματικός προέρχεται από στρατιωτική οικογένεια. Θείοι και εξαδέρφια του πολέμησαν από τον Πρώτο και το Δεύτερο Παγκόσμιο Πόλεμο ως τα μέτωπα της Κορέας. Ο ίδιος βρέθηκε 2 φορές στο Βιετνάμ. Σήμερα ο 38χρονος γιος του υπηρετεί στον Αμερικανικό στρατό με το βαθμό του ταγματάρχη.
He went to Iraq in August of 2006. He's been there since then. He's been in the S3 operations officer of the 2nd Battalion of the 505th Parachute Regiment. It's very hard, you know, we're very proud of him. He's a soldier, he's a stratιώτη. He's proud of his country, he's proud of his heritage. He's proud of όλα τα καλά τα πράγματα τα οποία έμαθε, you know, παιδί στο ελληνικό σχολείο, η θρησκεία. His wife and children are very important to him, obviously. His mother and family, his sister, he's very close. Every day we worry, we check very much every day. We look at the news, we read the news, we listen to the television, we worry about it, we talk with his wife. And just like he mentioned Saturday, they lost 3 more soldiers got killed and 2 were wounded very bad, and so an IED again. And yeah, we worry an awful lot. You know, he's got a wife and 3 little boys.
Από τη σκοπιά ενός πρώην αξιωματικού καριέρας, ο Νικόλας Βαμβακίας δίνει την εντύπωση ότι δεν μπορεί παρά να υποστηρίζει την παρουσία του Αμερικανικού στρατού, αλλά και του γιού του στο Ιράκ.
Μπήκαμε στο χώρο, πρέπει να χορέψουμε. Have we made mistakes? Yeah, we've made a lot of mistakes. Could we have done it better? Yeah, we could have done it better. Now the thing is to try and catch up and do it as fast as we can so we can get out. Yeah, sure, I want to get out. We all want to get out.
But you want your son to come back?
Absolutely, you want him to come back. I was at Arlington with you yesterday, and we saw the new graves, and we don't want that. You know, I certainly don't want that. And I grieve for those οικογένειες that have lost their loved ones. And then you come back to the same questions. What could we have done differently? You know, should we, you know, there were over 3,000 lives right now. The question you have to ask yourself is, should we have gone into Iraq? Could we have done Iraq differently? And that's a question that nobody has the answer to right now, I don't think.
We have no business to be there to foster what we believe in to those people. They have a history of thousands of years, and we're trying to change it overnight. I think we got to be crazy to be over there.
Ο Ιωάννης Παναγιωτόπουλος, ιστορικό μέλος του ΑΧΕΠΑ, είναι ιδιαίτερα επικριτικός για τον πόλεμο στο Ιράκ. Είναι ο πρώτος που κατέθεσε λουλούδια στους τάφους των πεσόντων Ελληνοαμερικανών στρατιωτών στο Άρλιγκτον πριν από σχεδόν 60 χρόνια.
Είχαμε 7 λουλούδια τότε. Τώρα έχουμε παραπάνω, κοντεύουν 500. Και κάθε χρόνο βάλαμε άλλα ονόματα. Τι λάθη κάναμε. Σκοτωθήκαν όλα τα παιδιά. Αυτός που έχει σκοτωθεί είναι ένα πράγμα. Να πας στο νοσοκομείο να δεις τι θα δεις εκεί πέρα και αν δεν κλάψεις δεν έχεις αίμα.
Στο Walter Reed.
Στο Walter Reed, όχι μόνο στο Walter Reed, είναι άλλο στο νοσοκομείο. Όμως στο Walter Reed θα πας και θα δεις παιδιά με δίχως πόδια. Το περισσότερο είναι ζημιά που έχουν στο κεφάλι τους. It's a terrible war that we're fighting, really. We have no business being there. It's a big mistake, and I see no end to it. And we have a president that's so stubborn that he's going to make this thing last as long as possible. It's a no-win situation. This is my own feeling.
Every president, I think, every leader should have to have at least a 1-month or a 1-week course at the War College, to polέμου, so that they could understand the price that you have to pay if you don't do things correctly. I think some did not study the history, and those some thought they could go into Iraq, do it fast, and be out of there in 2 years, and that the Iraqis would, their oil money would pay for everything, and we would be out of there.
Σήμερα η Αμερική γιορτάζει την 28η Μαΐου, την ημέρα μνήμης για τους πεσόντες όλων των πολέμων. Μια τέτοια μέρα ελάχιστοι θέλουν να θυμούνται ότι οι Αμερικανοί νεκροί στρατιώτες στο Ιράκ φτάνουν τους 3.500.
This is a body part war, is what I call it. You know, guys that are getting injured, they're losing arms and legs. They're tough guys. They overcome these physical injuries, but what happens is they start asking themselves why they're injured. You know, why am I missing my arms and legs? What was my sacrifice worth? And there's no just answers for them.
I was called to serve in Iraq because the government said there were weapons of mass destruction, but they weren't there. They said Iraq had something to do with 9/11, but the connection wasn't there. They told us that we'd win the war and be home soon, but we're still there. So when people ask me where my arm went, I try to find the words, but they're not there.